Ready for a holiday history lesson. You might think you know Father Christmas, but his story goes way further back than you might think.
It's true.
We're going to uncover how he transformed from ancient winter celebrations to the jolly gift giver we know today.
You know, it's amazing how the tradition of feasting and celebration during the Christmas season
Yeah.
dates back to the High Middle Ages and even earlier, likely with roots in pre-Christian festivals.
So basically, people have been partying for centuries. Sign me up.
That's right.
But what's interesting is how Father Christmas isn't actually based on St. Nicholas, unlike the American Santa Claus.
Yeah,
His story is uniquely English.
you're right. To really understand him, we need to travel back to the 15th century. This is where we see the emergence of Sir Christmas, a personified figure who actually represented Christmas.
Sir Christmas. It sounds so formal, like a knight of the round table, but with Christmas pudding instead of swords.
Well, there was definitely a lot of eating and drinking involved. There's even a carol from that time attributed to Richard Smart where Sir Christmas encourages everyone to drink and be merry.
Okay, so we've got singing, drinking, feasting. Sounds like my kind of holiday. But were there any other characters involved in these early Christmas celebrations?
Absolutely. In 1443, the city of Norwich had a massive procession featuring a king of Christmas who rode through the streets. It was part of this symbolic battle between the spirit and the flesh, with Christmas representing the flesh, of course.
So lots of revelry. But was Sir Christmas essentially Father Christmas in disguise?
Not exactly. The term Father Christmas doesn't appear until the mid-17th century. And it shows up during a pretty turbulent time in English history when the Puritans were gaining power and actually trying to abolish Christmas celebrations.
Wait, abolish Christmas. Why would anyone want to do that?
The Puritans felt Christmas was too connected to Catholicism with all its rituals and celebrations. They preferred a simpler, more restrained way of worshiping.
So where does Father Christmas fit into all of this?
It's fascinating. Right when Christmas was under attack, the term Father Christmas popped up. Royalist supporters who opposed the Puritans adopted him as a symbol of the good old days, fighting back against efforts to suppress the holiday's cheer.
So he was kind of like a rebel mascot, fighting for the right to party.
You could say that. There's even an image of him from that era in a pamphlet by Josiah King. He's portrayed as this jolly old fellow, a representation of all the fun the Puritans wanted to eliminate.
That's incredible. So what happened after 1660, when the monarchy was restored and Christmas celebrations were allowed again? Did Father Christmas just fade away?
His popularity did decline a bit, but he remained a familiar face in traditional folk plays. He was often portrayed as a kind, generous old squire, embodying the spirit of hospitality.
So even though he wasn't the main event anymore, he was still a part of the Christmas tradition.
Exactly, and it's this staying power that makes his story so intriguing. It's a reminder that even beloved traditions go through periods of change and adaptation.
So Father Christmas survives the Puritan Revolution, but takes a bit of a backseat. When does he make his comeback?
We need to jump ahead to the Victorian era. This is where we see a resurgence of Christmas traditions, and Father Christmas goes through a major transformation.
This is probably where he becomes more about children.
Right? You're spot on. As Christmas became more family-oriented, Father Christmas shifted into a bringer of gifts for children.
And this is where the American Santa Claus starts to play a role, right?
Exactly. The American Santa Claus myth, with nocturnal visits, stockings, and reindeer, became really popular in England during the 1850s.
This is where things get a little fuzzy for me. How did Father Christmas and Santa Claus go from separate figures to basically the same guy?
It was a gradual process. Clement Clarke Moore's poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas, published in England, really popularized the Santa Claus myth. People began to combine the two figures, blending their characteristics over time.
So by the end of the 19th century, was Father Christmas basically an English version of Santa Claus?
It's not that straightforward. Even though the tradition of nighttime gift-giving was well established, there was still debate about whether it was Santa Claus or Father Christmas making those deliveries.
A festive turf war. But eventually they just kind of merged.
Precisely. By the early 20th century, people stopped distinguishing between the two. Their appearances even merged, with Father Christmas adopting the red suit, white beard, and jolly demeanor we associate with Santa Claus today.
So we have this merging of appearances, but what about their backstories? Did those blend as well?
It's interesting because while Father Christmas took on many of Santa's visual traits, his deeper roots in English folklore haven't been completely forgotten. He still represents that older tradition of feasting, generosity, and good cheer that goes back centuries.
So he has this dual identity, part ancient partygoer, part modern gift giver.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes him such an enduring and fascinating figure. He embodies both the traditional and the modern, the English and the American, all in one jolly persona.
I love that. It makes him a truly unique and complex character.
Absolutely. And it reflects how cultures influence and change one another over time, particularly when it comes to something as deeply rooted as our holiday traditions.
What about today? Is there still any distinction between Father Christmas and Santa Claus in England?
While the terms are mostly used interchangeably now, some people still prefer Father Christmas. They see it as a way to hold on to that distinct English heritage, to emphasize his connection to those older, more folkloric traditions.
That makes sense. It's about preserving that unique Englishness. But what about the reindeer and sleigh? That seems very much tied to the Santa Claus myth. Do people in England imagine Father Christmas flying around in a sleigh too?
Generally, those aspects of the Santa Claus imagery are so popular and widespread that they've been fully integrated into the Father Christmas tradition as well.
So even with his unique English background, Father Christmas has become part of this global Christmas mythology.
Absolutely. It highlights the power of cultural exchange and how traditions evolve in our increasingly connected world. While he might have swapped his wassail bowl for a sleigh full of toys, Father Christmas still represents that core spirit of generosity and good cheer that has made him such a beloved figure for centuries.
It's amazing to think how he's evolved, from those medieval celebrations to the globally recognized figure he is today. But I'm guessing his evolution isn't over, right?
You've got a good point. Father Christmas, like any cultural icon, is constantly being shaped by the times. He reflects our changing values, our anxieties, and even how we understand the world around us.
So what does the future hold for Father Christmas?
That's a great question. It's tough to predict exactly how he'll continue to evolve. But there are some interesting trends to consider. One is the increasing awareness of environmental issues.
Will we see a Father Christmas who's more environmentally conscious? Maybe trading his sleigh for something more eco-friendly? A solar-powered sleigh, perhaps?
Ah, that's a fun image. But yes, we might see a more eco-conscious Father Christmas in the future, promoting sustainable gift giving or partnering with organizations focused on protecting the planet.
That would be fantastic. I can picture him giving out reusable water bottles and bamboo toys.
Exactly. It's important for these cultural figures to evolve with our understanding of the world. It keeps them relevant and allows them to continue reflecting our values and concerns.
Okay, so eco-friendly Father Christmas, I'm on board. What other trends do you see shaping his future?
Another fascinating area to watch is the increasing diversity of our societies.
Do you think we'll see a more inclusive Father Christmas, reflecting the diverse backgrounds and experiences of people worldwide?
I think it's very likely. We're already seeing this in some depictions of Father Christmas, with artists and storytellers portraying him in a wider range of ethnicities and cultural styles.
That's wonderful. It would be great to see a Father Christmas who truly represents the richness and diversity of our world.
Yes, and it's important for everyone to see themselves reflected in these cultural icons, to connect with the stories and traditions we share as a society. It fosters a sense of belonging and celebrates our differences.
I completely agree. So we have eco-conscious Father Christmas, inclusive Father Christmas. Any other predictions for the future of our jolly old friend?
Well, one more trend that I find particularly interesting relates to the role of technology.
Ooh, this sounds futuristic. Are we talking about Father Christmas delivering gifts by drone?
Huh. Perhaps. But more broadly, I think technology will play a bigger role in how we experience and engage with the Father Christmas myth.
So, virtual reality Christmas visits.
Yeah.
Personalized gift recommendations based on our online shopping habits.
Exactly. We might see more interactive and personalized experiences that allow people to connect with Father Christmas in new and innovative ways.
That's fascinating. It's like he's stepping out of storybooks and into our digital world.
Yes, and it reflects the evolving nature of storytelling. We're moving beyond passively consuming stories and embracing more immersive and interactive experiences.
I love that. It's not just about the gifts, it's about the story, the magic,
Mm.
and how technology can enhance and personalize that experience.
Precisely. And as technology advances, I think we can expect even more creative and engaging ways to experience the joy and wonder of Father Christmas.
You've given us so much to consider, from ancient reveler to eco-warrior, from cultural icon to digital influencer. Father Christmas has come a long way. What a journey.
Absolutely. And it's remarkable how he continues to adapt and evolve while still embodying those core values of generosity, kindness, and the simple joy of giving.
You're right. It's a reminder that even in a rapidly changing world, certain traditions endure. They speak to something deep within us and remind us of what truly matters, especially during the holiday season. But what will Father Christmas's role be in the future of the holidays?
What's truly fascinating about Father Christmas is how he embodies a uniquely English perspective on the idea of a Christmas gift giver. Unlike Santa Claus, who's deeply connected to St. Nicholas, Father Christmas comes from a much older tradition, rooted in English folklore.
So you're saying he's not just a rebranded Santa. That's intriguing.
Exactly. Remember those early figures we talked about, like Sir Christmas and the King of Christmas? They weren't focused on gifts. Their role was about celebrating, feasting, and spreading joy during the holidays. They represented that spirit of abundance and merriment that's so central to the English Christmas tradition.
How did that festive spirit transform into the gift-giving figure we know today?
It was a gradual shift, driven by a mix of social and cultural changes. As Christmas became increasingly associated with family and children, especially in the Victorian era, the focus moved away from just adult celebrations.
So that's when Father Christmas became more of a gift bringer.
Precisely. And this happened alongside the growing popularity of the American Santa Claus myth in England.
Right. We talked about how Santa Claus brought traditions like stockings, reindeer, and those nighttime visits.
And as these new customs caught on, Father Christmas started adopting many of Santa's attributes. It was almost like a cultural blending, with the two figures merging over time.
Was it a smooth transition? Or was there any resistance to this American influence on Father Christmas?
There was definitely some debate. Some saw it as diluting English traditions, while others embraced these new elements as a way to make Christmas even more magical for children.
So there might have been some rivalry between the two at first.
There's actually evidence of that. There are accounts of Christmas processions in the late 19th century where both Father Christmas and Santa Claus appeared as separate characters.
Wow. A real-life holiday showdown. But they ultimately became one and the same.
Right. Exactly. By the early 20th century, people stopped distinguishing between the two. Their appearances even merged, with Father Christmas adopting the red suit, white beard, and jolly demeanor we associate with Santa Claus today.
So we have this merging of appearances. But what about their backstories? Did those blend as well?
It's interesting, because while Father Christmas took on many of Santa's visual traits, his deeper roots in English folklore haven't been completely forgotten. He still represents that older tradition of feasting, generosity, and good cheer that goes back centuries.
So he has this dual identity, part ancient partygoer, part modern gift giver.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes him such an enduring and fascinating figure. He embodies both the traditional and the modern, the English and the American, all in one jolly persona.
I love that. It makes him a truly unique and complex character.
Absolutely. And it reflects how cultures influence and change one another over time, particularly when it comes to something as deeply rooted as our holiday traditions.
What about today? Is there still any distinction between Father Christmas and Santa Claus in England?
While the terms are mostly used interchangeably now, some people still prefer Father Christmas. They see it as a way to hold on to that distinct English heritage, to emphasize his connection to those older, more folkloric traditions.
That makes sense. It's about preserving that unique Englishness. But what about the reindeer and sleigh? That seems very much tied to the Santa Claus myth. Do people in England imagine Father Christmas flying around in a sleigh, too?
Generally, those aspects of the Santa Claus imagery are so popular and widespread that they've been fully integrated into the Father Christmas tradition as well.
So even with his unique English background, Father Christmas has become part of this global Christmas mythology.
Absolutely. It highlights the power of cultural exchange and how traditions evolve in our increasingly connected world. While he might have swapped his wassail bowl for a sleigh full of toys, Father Christmas still represents that core spirit of generosity and good cheer that has made him such a beloved figure for centuries.
It's amazing to think how he's evolved from those medieval celebrations to the globally recognized figure he is today. But I'm guessing his evolution isn't over, right?
You've got a good point. Father Christmas, like any cultural icon, is constantly being shaped by the times. He reflects our changing values, our anxieties, and even how we understand the world around us.
So what does the future hold for Father Christmas?
That's a question worth pondering. As we become more globally connected and traditions continue to evolve, it's fascinating to think about how Father Christmas will adapt to these shifts.
Yeah.
Will he become a symbol of global unity? Or will different cultures maintain their own unique interpretations of this holiday figure?
It really makes you think about how traditions can be both global and deeply personal at the same time. I know my own memories of Father Christmas are intertwined with family traditions and childhood experiences.
That's such an important point. These figures resonate with us on a personal level because they tap into our deepest desires for joy, generosity, and connection, especially during the holiday season. Whether we call him Father Christmas, Santa Claus, or any other name, the spirit he embodies remains timeless.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even in a world that's constantly changing, the things that truly matter, love, kindness, and the spirit of giving, have a way of enduring.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, I think we've unwrapped quite a bit about the fascinating history and evolution of Father Christmas. From his ancient roots to his modern transformations, he's a figure who continues to capture our imaginations and inspire us to embrace the true spirit of the holiday season.
And as you gather with loved ones this year, may the story of Father Christmas remind you of the enduring power of tradition, the importance of cultural exchange, and the simple joy of spreading good cheer.
From all of us here, happy holidays.